Labrat's playthrough. Labrat is the playtesting character I'm using to play it normally on Path of Magic, not the development character. I find that it's very important to separate the development character from the playtesting character. Otherwise, the experience is, let's say, less immersive. This is my mortal character, the one I use to get back in touch with the playing experience. I think that it's quite important if you're developing for players to remind yourself what they're going through. It's not always necessary, though. A lot of people make like big different adventure worlds and these things. And in that case, I don't think it's as necessary because it's more like you need to understand how people start playing Valheim and what they're thinking about. And as long as you understand that, you can like work with it, right? Whereas when you're working with normal Valheim players, they're gonna do certain things in certain ways, and there's sort of nothing you can do about it, right? And I guess that's true at the end of the day. No matter what kind of modded world you're making, you're gonna have to learn kind of what the norm is in the way people do things. So I've been working a little bit here on the facade of the castle elements, right? Because in our previous situation, we had some altercations with some Loxen, right? And that got a bit out of hand. And so I've been repairing the spots that they attacked. And we have this area now. Looks more like a castle, right? There's still a little bit I want to change. I want to remove this tree. But as far as the facade goes, that's what I'm going for. This like same kind of design, just spread everywhere else. So here, the external part is fine. Then this area, I don't know how to hide the belts or how to do this. I need to test the belts more, so I'm still working on that. And I'm not sure I want to use all of the instances necessary to make this design go all the way down. So I might just use like normal stone. We'll see. And when I say normal stone, I mean these things, these big ones. Because they're not very aesthetically pleasing, but instance-wise, I mean, they're very frugal, right? And it doesn't look that bad, so I'll probably go with something like that and just go all the way down. I guess I could do that now, but the thing is, I need to test this conveyor a little bit more, because before I shore everything up and cover it with stone and entomb it, I want to make sure that it's working in a functionable way, right? And when I came here last, it'd been long enough that all of the Diverger in the base had been killed by various events. Which isn't that surprising if you think about what's been happening, but hey, it is what it is. No, I think it's time to get this kind of staircase in, because I'm not set on how I want this to look, because on one hand, there's not much view here to take away from. So I guess it's not that big of an issue. But here, for example, like this is a nice view, and it'll be blocked by the staircase probably. But when we're on top of the staircase, there'll be a nice view. So I just got to figure out how to do this in a way that works. And maybe from the side, we'll turn the staircase into like a wall or something. I guess we'll see. For now, I'm just gonna practice with some wood, some normal wood. And we're gonna see what it looks like if we just fill up on the... Let's go with the inside. We're gonna go with one by one. Pretty simple. Oh, might want to make a workbench here. Alright, awesome. Now I'll just fill out all of the parts here that need a staircase. And I don't need to be too perfect here. We're just trying to get some visuals, because I placed this frame a while ago and I haven't actually made the base. And I think I've got enough resources, or at least enough coin to buy more resources. So we should be fine. Oh, God. Speaking of that, running out of wood. But let's see, do we want something wider or something thin? Because maybe I could use like ash wood or something. I'm just not sure how that would look, to be honest. Because I'm more prone to adding more of these castle wall elements. So I kind of feel like turning that into a wall, especially because we're going to sometimes see that angle, right? Anytime we're looking at the base from over here, we'll see that element. So I think probably the same kind of wall that hides a staircase. And the staircase is just on the interior. I think that's probably what I'll go for here. But first I want to get this frame placed a bit. Let me think about this for a moment. I guess it depends on what I want to do with the land, because I either want to make it skinny like this, or make it like 3 wide. I'm not sure which one, to be honest. Where's the... Oh, Ashwood. Oh, yeah, they don't look like normal stairs. I forgot about that. Oh, those are nice. Huh. But you need so much Ashwood. Mm. Oh, no, I see. So it's pretty much the same. It's just... Because the normal stair is 4 wood, right? Ah, no, okay, so you need double the wood. And you can make it in the same style if you want to. Or you can make it in a half stair. Interesting. Can you tell I haven't worked with the Ashwood too much? I like how this looks, but probably not in this situation. I think it's some kind of interior staircase. For out here, yeah, we're gonna need the wall profile up to this point, up to sort of where these posts are. Okay. Let's see, how should I go about acquiring more wood? I guess I can just buy more? I need to cut some trees down. Why don't I do that? I haven't been doing it because I don't know where my axe is, to be honest. It's somewhere. Somewhere else. I have to remake one. And I moved the forge away, of course, classic. And of course our diverger is also dead. I came back here at some point and there was just a shaman just chilling there in the spot of the diverger. I'm not sure why. Alright. So how should I go about this? Because I could just buy more wood for now. Or I can just start building with stone. How much stone do I have? Let's see, 111. Ah, not that much actually. I'm gonna need to buy some new things anyway. Okay, let's just do that. We have 4,000. I'll use these 2,000 coins here. What is it? 970 and 960? I think that's right? 960? And then buy. Oh, wrong one. It's 970 and 980, I think. Ha. Well, I got some frost arrows. Very expensive frost arrows. Alright. We're gonna do 970. That's what I get for not looking at the list. Oops. Wave? How did I do that? Okay, there's our stone. And so does that mean wood is 950 or... Let's see, I'm gonna actually look at it. Buy price is 1. Wood is... Oh, it's 980. Ah, yeah, I went the wrong way. Ah, alright, whatever. That's most of our gold from our burial tomb splunking the other day. Interesting turn of pace, too, how burial tombs are a better source of money than other things. I like it, honestly. I found myself being in the plains and wanting to go to the burial chambers earlier on in the Black Forest. Like, that's kind of crazy to me, to be honest. Because normally I would just, yeah, I just wouldn't really experience that. There we go. Alright, now we have better building resources, so I should be able to just extend this part here. And how do I want to handle this? I guess? We can keep the curved elements. Oh, dang. Careful, buddy. Come on. I'm just trying to figure out, do I want to do something with this spot here? Because I could completely cover it. But also at the same time, I made this curve earlier for a reason. So I'm just going to roll with it. In order to make it easier to follow the curve, I'm going to find the points where it turns, right? Like here. And we're just going to build some wood beams all the way down to the ground. That way I can know where to place the stone. And I'm going to go with the exterior for now, and we'll see how that looks. And I can move it around as I need to. There we go, and then it turns again here. Oh, that's interesting. It actually doesn't turn as often as I thought. There was this illusion of it turning because it changes from flat pieces to stair pieces, right? But it actually doesn't turn that frequently. Interesting. So, we're going to take the same pattern I've been doing, and I should just be able to connect each one of these pieces with an external like that. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Nice. Alright, that'll work. It's just a little bit too close here. Let's, I don't have a hoe with me. Oh well. Alright, now it'll work. Nope. For now, I'm just gonna ignore that I broke the pattern below it, and that's okay. We're just trying to get a feel for where the things are going to be placed and make sure that this base layer is correct. And then I'll move forward from that spot. It should be fine. Honestly, at this point, I can make it go a little bit closer here. Is that right? Yeah, okay. So we're just going to keep this pattern going out here like this. Gonna need another stone cutter for later. May as well get that done. Okay. Now here, I think it's probably fine. For this part, we'll just use these. Because here, I'm not really being that picky. I'm just trying to get the framework of exactly where this thing's gonna go. Let's make sure it's correct. Okay. So it'll go here. And then it turns again, right? Like this? Is that correct? Yeah, it's nice when things actually line up. There's just some inherent satisfaction to it. Alright, there we go. Boom. 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 Okay, cool. And that's on the outside, so the stairs will be able to be on the inside, on the interior. And all I have to do now is fill in these gaps for the most part. Let's, I'm gonna use these big pieces where it's not obvious, right? And here, for example, I think I'll just keep those big pieces there. I think it's alright. I'm not too worried about it. And there will probably be some kind of, like, service gate or something here. So for now, I'm just gonna make, like, an iron gate right there. Oh, forge is too far away. That's fine. I'll just leave a hole there for now. But that's gonna be where the gate is. Placeholder door, maybe? Yeah, that works. Okay, cool. So now we're gonna fill this up. We have a decent amount of stone. About to run out of it, but that's okay. There's something inherently satisfying. I think I just really enjoy the brick playing element. So this specific part of placing these 2x2s, it's like there's something appealing about it. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't really understand that part of my mind. But like for me personally, maybe if you build in Valheim, you can tell me how it is. But I seem to enjoy this part where I already have a frame set, and then I just have to kind of build on top of it. For me, that seems to work pretty well. I find it to be quite fun. I'm not sure if that's normal though. But like this part, for example, for me is more enjoyable than figuring out where the frame's gonna go. I can get a little bit stressed. I know that sounds silly, but I get stressed trying to figure out where things need to be placed. Whereas once the frame is up, then it's almost like, okay, now I can just relax and put these bricks in and feel like it's like I don't have to make any decisions. Maybe that's what it's about, you know, making decisions, because we're all burned out by making too many decisions, right? I've heard that on YouTube. That's what the YouTubers tell me. So I must be burned out by making too many decisions. Let's see. Yeah, I like this part. I know the pattern's not perfect, but hey, if you make a mistake, it's imperfect. But then if you make that mistake twice in a row, suddenly it's a pattern, right? And aren't patterns perfect? Doesn't that mean your mistakes can be perfect? I think so. I think the moment I became creative was when I realized that if I made a mistake twice, it was actually when I was drawing something. Like I messed it up and I always used to feel insecure about that I couldn't draw and I wasn't good at stuff. And then one day I made a mistake and I was drawing this like geometric pattern and I thought it ruined the whole thing. And then I was like, oh, what if I just make that same mistake like 7 or 8 times throughout the rest of the drawing? And then I did that and then suddenly it looked really cool. Like it was purposeful or something, even though it wasn't at all. And that was like a turning point for me, and I started viewing mistakes differently then. After that, it was like, a mistake is something we can, almost like we can capitalize on our mistakes and turn them into beautiful things. Not that that's always easy to do. Definitely it can be quite a struggle. And something I'm happy about, just with my life in general, I think for most of my life before, I struggled more to do the things I knew I actually cared about. That may seem obvious, but I have found that for a long time I was aware of things that made me happy and that I wanted to do, but I wasn't like in the habit of doing them, and it made me a bit resentful of myself, and I felt insecure about that. Because I knew like, I want to be doing this thing, but I'm not doing it. And so I would do a bunch of other stuff, but feel like I did nothing, because there's that one thing I still haven't done that I actually really care about deeply, right? And one of the things that's changed a lot in my life is that now I actually value resting. And this is something that I had to leave the West to come to understand. But basically, I get more done if I let myself rest. And I guess that should be obvious. But for some reason, for a long time, I wasn't really able to rest. And I had this perpetual feeling that like everything was wrong and that I needed to figure something out to fix things. And I never fixed anything, but I did eventually figure out that even when I do fix things, that feeling doesn't go away. So basically, it doesn't matter. Because there's no, it's like, once you realize that it isn't actually possible to satisfy something, and you really understand that deep down, it makes life a lot easier, because then, at least for me, I stopped feeling this perpetual need to like constantly produce. And ironically, the more I stopped trying to force myself, the more I would produce things. And now I find myself in a position where I can work on the server, and I've worked on the server and done scripting stuff almost every day of my life for like 10 months straight. And in a way where it's not like consuming everything. I'm still doing other things and gardening, and that's what I was trying to get at. That's like the big thing that's different about my life now that I wanted to talk a bit about, because I think it can help other people, because the things that have changed that have really made me happy are simple things that anybody can do. Even though I changed a lot of things in my life, it turned out to be that those big changes weren't really the things that needed to change in a lot of ways, although they did teach me what needed to change. And for me, it's quite simple. It's all about just balance, not doing too much of any one thing. For me, a big problem was playing, well, not like a big problem to be honest, but part of my life that was problematic for a long time was the sheer amount of time that I spend on the computer. And that's still something, like, I spend a lot of time on the computer now, but I feel happier about my computer usage. It's kind of like I'm in a situation where I'm, like, in the long run, I want to spend a bit less time than I currently do. Because I definitely, like, I have to spend time on the computer so that I can develop my skills and figure things out to earn more money. That's still true. It's not like I'm wealthy or something. But that being said, I have way more freedoms than I ever used to have. And I just don't need money in the same way because of coming to Nicaragua. And this has really freed my mind up a lot. And some of the things I've learned is just how simple happiness in life really is. And you can think that, oh, if you just have this, for example, I used to think if I just had a lot of free time, I'd be happy. And don't get me wrong, having free time was absolutely necessary for me to build the life in the way that I have. It's fundamentally important. But I had to suffer a lot understanding and learning that even when I have everything I have ever dreamed about, I'm still going to suffer. I'm still going to have problems. I'm still going to have to deal with my reality. And after being in that experience for a while, the thing I really learned is that you just have to roll with what you have access to in life. And you can be like other people and focus on what you don't have. And most people are like that. They are constantly in a state of reacting to things they don't have, or they think about not having, or they think someone else has that they don't have. And people, myself included, we delude ourselves into thinking that if we just have something, that it's gonna change the situation. Like, we're gonna be fundamentally different people because of the thing that we have now. And that is a delusion. It's a convenient delusion when you don't have the thing, because you can easily keep telling yourself that, oh, you know, of course it's like this. It's because I don't have this. And if I just had this, it'd be fine. But again, it's a delusion. The reality is you just exist. You just are. And however you feel or don't feel has to do with this existence and how you're reacting. It has very little to do with what you actually have. You're reacting to what you think you have. But at the end of the day, you don't even have it. So All that really matters is what you think. And what I've found is that it all boils down to one thing for me personally. As I mentioned, it is important to have a balance. I can't do a lot of one thing, even if it's the good thing. Like if I spend the whole day working on videos or making something or cleaning, these are all stereotypically good things. But I don't feel balanced. It doesn't bring goodness into my life. And I found that if I make myself work all day, I end up recovering or getting sick a day later or 2 days later. So even when I try and force myself to make something, at the end of the day, I pay a cost. And ultimately, the only option is to do things with balance, to do things over time, instead of to try and do them all at once. For me, I have to do things 30 minutes a day, instead of for multiple hours. That's just how I work best. I can get a lot done in a week doing something for 30 minutes each day. I can work very effectively. But if I try and work for that same amount of time all in one stretch, for some reason I just can't move as efficiently. I can move efficiently when I know that I'm not going to be doing this for a long time and I can do something interesting. So that's a big learning lesson for me. Because ultimately what it all boiled down to was just how often I'm doing things. That's it. Once I started resting more often and valuing rest, and so now, for example, when I after I stream, I don't just keep using the computer and go and do a work task. I stop and I like clean or garden or go do something in the physical world, and it just is so much more peaceful. I'm so much more able to be happy when I can do things slowly and take my time. And that's something that I've been figuring out with the YouTube channel, because ultimately I need to make more tutorials. But I see that what drove me to make tutorials often before was this fear, and I don't need to be scared. So I'm giving myself time now to just like figure out exactly how I want to make and develop things and make some kind of style for the tutorials that I really feel good about, instead of just reacting to my fear of things not working out. Like my fear is that I won't be able to keep working on Path of Magic all the time, because that's basically what I do. I like have a life, but I don't like have a completely out of balance life, but I pretty much the thing I spend most of my time doing is developing PoM. I have like other side work and jobs, and I run the YouTube channel and these things, but for the moment PoM's been like all of my time, and I love that. But obviously I can't always continue that way, so I get scared that now that I've experienced that thing, obviously I'm scared of losing it, which is quite normal. That's what we do. We get scared of losing things instead of just enjoying them. But what I've learned is that this is what I have to do. I have to be slow. I have to take my time, and it's easy for me to get frustrated with myself. And what I've learned is actually happening is I'm hearing the voices all throughout my past growing up. The builder's full. All throughout my past growing up, where like I live a very a-traditional or non-traditional life. And in doing this, I've had to spend a lot of time doing things that make me happy, but other people see nothing from. Does that make sense? And that's something that I think a lot of people are unwilling to do. And so I'm not telling you something I regret. I'm very happy that I live in a non-traditional way, because it has allowed me to spend most of my day doing what I care about. So when I came across this Expand World prefabs thing, I was able to jump on that opportunity to learn a scripting language for the first time. I've never scripted before, and now I've gotten really into it, and I absolutely love it. And like I can come up with a mechanic to put into the game and then add it to the server in a couple days of scripting and organizing. And like I can tell that for me as an individual, that is something beautiful. It's really like the most important thing that I could be doing as far as my passions and in my life go. Um, the thing is, that is sort of irrelevant to people who are concerned about me in a traditional sense, right? Like, because most people are under this immense pressure to produce and pay for things. And a lot of that pressure doesn't actually come from reality. We think it comes from reality because, like, everyone has to work, right? And that is true to a point. But you don't have to work like 40, 50 hours. That's not normal. Like, worldwide, that is not normal. Most humans don't need to work that much. Like, even if you're talking about, like, people you stereotype as hard-living rural people, like, the rural life, for the most part, is one where in certain times of year there's loads of work, and then in other times of year there's almost none. It's once you start getting involved in the city and the business life, this is when things start changing and work starts consuming everything. But it comes at a great detriment, a huge, huge detriment. And what I've found is that it's not the fact that work is necessary, because that is true. What's really happening is that we've been taken advantage of so extensively that the price we have to pay for the basic functions of our life has been inflated so extremely. And this isn't like a new thing. It was inflated to the point of absurdity a decade ago, maybe. It's gone up so much that we have to work all the time in order to maintain our existence or care for the people that we love. And what I've discovered is that this is a first world problem. For the most part, the technology changed existence in the developing world completely and made it possible for you to live in a country that it only costs a couple $100s a month for your rent. And that seems absurd to people. Like, I remember when I was in the US originally, I remember hearing that people in some places in the world, they only pay or they only earn like $3 or $4 an hour. And I always would think, wow, abuse. Immediately I think abuse. That's what I would think. And many people listening to this, you probably also think that way. But that isn't actually true. Well, like, don't get me wrong. There are plenty of situations where if you're only paying someone $3 or $4 an hour, you're abusing them. But what we fail to understand is that most of the world doesn't cost anywhere near as much as what we experience. So while for us, maybe $10 an hour is like a starting wage job, there's many, many countries in the world where $10 an hour is what, like, a well-paid government official who provides for their family will earn. And, like, I'm not saying that, like, oh, these places are poor. I'm saying, like, hey, realize, like, that amount of money goes so much further in the rest of the world that you can have a privileged life off of $10 an hour. And I mean, like, work part-time, provide for your family, raise a family, privilege life off of $10 an hour. Like, I get that the developed world is awesome. Don't get me wrong. It's so great. It's really lovely. We got a lot of nice stuff. But having experienced a lot of both situations and being raised in all sorts of different cultures and countries, I've lived in the Arabic-speaking world, I've lived in the English-speaking world, I've lived in the Spanish-speaking world. I can tell you that the English-speaking world is not worth the cost. Like, most of the things we think we have that we have to pay for, and they're worth it, are available way, 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 way cheaper or free elsewhere in the world, in the very nations that we criticize as being underdeveloped. And that, for me, took a long time. Like, in general, I'm pretty open-minded about stuff, I would say. But I still came into Nicaragua full of prejudice and misguided beliefs from living in the English-speaking world about what the rest of the world is like. And for me personally, those beliefs, I see now how, like, there's no way to not feel them when you live inside the system, so to speak. And it's not like there's not a system in these other countries, because there very much is. You know, you still need money, and money still gets you places. The difference is, like, the bar is way, 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 way lower. It's kind of like where I'm from. Let's say, if you don't know, I'm an American, so to speak. I was raised in the U.S. Not fully, but I was raised for my teenage years for like a solid decade in the United States. And the way it works there is if you have a lot of money, you can do what you want. And if your family has a lot of money, you don't get into trouble as much. So, like, when I went to college, there were people I knew who got in trouble. They had, like, Adderall, or they had some kind of alcohol problem or something else. And, like, as long as their relatives were donors of the college and these things, they would literally get in trouble multiple times and be fine. Whereas other people would experience zero tolerance policies when things went wrong. And my experience being there also was one where, like, you could get into trouble with the police as long as you had a good lawyer and you knew how to act. You could get out of the trouble by paying the right amount of money to a really good lawyer with a good reputation who's really aggressive. You could literally pay to not get in trouble for a crime you committed. And I saw people do that more than once and heard of it happening. So I get that we talk about not being corrupt, but in my experience, we are actually quite corrupt. The difference is that you have to pay a lot of money for the corruption in the West. The corruption is a more elite thing, whereas in the developing world, like, you need less money. And I'm not saying that everything's corrupt, because me personally in Nicaragua, like, I've never been in a situation where I've had to bribe someone, like, ever. I know people who have, right? But at the end of the day, which would you rather happen? Like, you get into a traffic situation, and then for like $20 or $30, the cop leaves you alone and drives off, or you have to pay your $100 ticket and your processing fee. Like, I mean, be real. Which would you prefer, right? Like, and that's what's so confusing, for me at least, about living outside of the English-speaking world, is that I'm not saying everything's amazing. I just have felt so robbed, if that makes sense. And not by being here, but by coming to see all these things that, like, I was told that I had when I lived in the English-speaking world. Like, there was also a lot of talk about freedom and the privilege of being able to speak your mind and all these different things. But yet, all these things I was told about Nicaragua now are happening in the country that I'm from. So, like, I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means something about the world or what. But, for example, when I first came to Nicaragua, I was told that, you know, okay, going into a area where there's, like, a dictator, these kind of things, oh, you're gonna lose all your rights, you won't be able to speak your mind. People go to jail all the time. There's a lot of inflation. There's disease and a horrible medical system. I was told all sorts of stuff. And let me tell you just what's unfolded since I came to Nicaragua. I left the United States to come here, right? And in the time that I've been in Nicaragua, there was a global pandemic, which was likely caused by the U.S. Basically, people in the U.S. government outsourced some very dangerous testing to China because we made laws making it illegal because of how dangerous it is. And like this is not a it's not like a conspiracy thing. It's like it's true. You can look up like when things happen. And basically we had this dangerous kind of genetic research. I don't remember exactly what it's called, like RNA, something like that. No, that's a DNA thing. It's something else. But you have this dangerous kind of research that can produce very harmful viruses. And then people are like, hey, yo, maybe we shouldn't do that. Let's make that illegal. So we make that illegal. And then so that industry doesn't go away. Instead, it just gets exported to another country. And so you end up with a situation where you have both China and the United States with dirty hands. Because on one hand, the situation occurred in Chinese territory. But on the other hand, it wasn't funded by the Chinese government, let's say. So, I think that's how we ended up with a situation where there's not actually that much blame being dished out because we have like multiple superpowers who are at the end of the day responsible. Whereas if it was just one, probably someone would have tried to leverage the pandemic and blame someone. But like it's kind of weird because historically people always get blamed and they're oftentimes the wrong people get blamed. So it's kind of weird that there was this huge pandemic on a scale like unheard of in our modern existence. And like no one got blamed for it, even wrongly blamed. Like I know that like people said China, 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 all this nonsense. But like nowadays, I mean realistically, like no one took the fall for it. Which is fucking weird, isn't it? Like, isn't that a bit odd? And so that's why I lean towards believing that it wasn't like some conspiracy where governments were working together. If you believe that, then like you have more faith in humanity than I do. I do not believe that multiple governments from multiple different countries can work together to try and make something happen. However, I do believe that two of them can be involved in something sketchy and then want to cover it up. That makes a lot of sense to me. So in the time that I left the US and came to Nicaragua, the COVID pandemic happened, which was very sketchy. And then during that pandemic, people got sick and businesses were literally forced to shut down. And many places experienced an authoritarian level of control over their life. Meanwhile, I was here in authoritarian, supposedly dictatorial Nicaragua, and like businesses shut down here because people like were scared, and that was what was happening. People were scared, but like the government wasn't like coming to your door and shutting your business down and stuff. Like for the most part, people barely even had to get vaccinated. Like I got vaccinated for COVID. Staying here because someone came to my door from the government and was like, would you like a COVID vaccine? They weren't like, you need this. They were just like, would you like this? And other people, they'd be like, no, or yes. Some people say no. Other people don't trust anyone. You know, it's fine. They weren't pressuring people. It was like not a big deal. And like in every single one of my interactions with the government here, that's been how it is. They're just like people who are like taking their time doing something. It's chill. Like it's not a big issue. And like that was the beginning of the unwinding for me. I was like, okay, I go to authoritarian country. And then I don't have the authoritarian experience. In fact, I'm pretty much free. The only difference here during the pandemic that I noticed, of course, I'm privileged here. I'm not like wealthy, but I have enough money. I can buy butter instead of vegetable oil. But like, if I lose my job, I won't be able to pay rent. Make sense? Does that give you a good sense of my financial situation? Can eat butter, but can't pay rent without work. There you go. But so pretty much the pandemic happened, and then my friends and people in the US that I was speaking to in my family, they described how like intense it got. And here, like I just had to wear a mask to go into a grocery store. That was it. Nothing in my life changed aside from that. And the cost of butter went up a bunch. It like disappeared for like maybe 2 weeks and then came back and was like 30% more. And then it's like been kind of the same price ever since then. And some other basic goods inflated a little bit, but not more than normal really. Like for me, my cost of living isn't noticeably more. And that's the other thing I want to get into. I moved to this country, Nicaragua, which was wrecked by inflation. Like the Cordoba, the currency here, there's two currencies, dollar and Cordoba. The Cordoba is the third iteration of the Cordoba because the other ones were completely screwed by inflation. So like, I get it. Inflation's a thing. It's been a problem here. Yet for some reason I come to Nicaragua and then the pandemic happens, the dollar inflates, but the Cordoba stops inflating as much relative to the dollar? Like, I don't know. I don't understand how that's a thing because the Cordoba is pegged to the dollar. So like, in the same way the dollar used to be pegged to gold, in Nicaragua, you can take Cordoba to the banks and they give you dollars. Make sense? That's how it maintains stability. And yet, when the dollar lost value and inflated, relative to the Cordoba stopped losing value as quickly. So, like, I haven't experienced inflation in the same way my peers have, even though I moved to the third world, so to speak, 6 years ago. And this is like the thing that is so crazy about our world is that like the difference in cost of living is so extreme that by staying in a country where it's expensive, you guarantee that you're going to be fighting against the odds. And a lot of the things that you think are really important and only available, like maybe safety, for example. Pretty much when you go to another country, you get advantages in some situations that you don't have in your own country. Like for me, for example, I do not have enough money in the US to be safe in a situation where I piss off like a business or something happens and there's a lawsuit. Like I could not afford that. I would have to figure out a way where like the lawyer can earn money from the case and then they get the money from the case and that's how I survive or something. If the case wins, like that's how I would defend myself. Yeah, here in Nicaragua, like I could afford an attorney because like you don't need the same level of legal defense. Like if like people like talk about suing you and these kind of things, the general thing to do is to laugh about it. Like I mean, it's just not the same as it is in the United States. So you don't need anywhere near as much money to defend yourself or to even just exist. And like that's the thing that's been fascinating to me is like just realizing, wow, so many parts of my life are just were incredibly overpriced. And that's how I felt ages ago. And like I mentioned, I left the English speaking world before all of this nonsense happened and before the pandemic and all this other stuff. And then don't even get me started on what's happening now. Because I mentioned how, okay, there was talk of pandemics. There was talk of not being able to speak your mind, etc., etc. Meanwhile, I'm making YouTube videos just talking about what I do, talking about my experience in Nicaragua. I've never like been in a situation where I haven't been able to speak my mind. I mean, I'm not criticizing the government. I'm generally quite sympathetic towards the Nicaraguan government, just because of the history. I see that we have basically done horrible, horrible, horrible things to them consistently for decades. So when they do something bad, I'm not like, wow, fuck them. I'm like, duh. Of course they're gonna do something bad. We've been waging war on them and their parents for ages, and like brewing terror and toxicity, paying people to kill other people, lying about it, doing a bunch of false nonsense. So like, of course there's gonna be problems. I don't view the government here as the origin of those problems. Make sense? But then what's so crazy is like, okay, all that, whatever, whatever. But then now we're in a situation where if you're like a European tourist and you go to the US and you got a tweet on your phone that's like anti-Trump, they'll fucking kick you out of the country. And I'm like, I'm sorry I'm laughing because I know that for a lot of people, it's a really serious matter. But I find it, I don't know. I was told a lot of things about freedom and all this nonsense. And now like the very people who believed in okay, let me put it this way. A lot of the people who told me the nonsense were like red-leaning, Republican-leaning people in the US. And I'm not anti-Republican, or I'm anti-Republican and anti-Democrat, to be honest. I think it's all nonsense. But that being said, in the U.S., if you talk badly about one, you're thought of as the other, right? But basically, the people who were more concerned about Nicaragua in general tended to be conservatives. And what's so funny is that they had this notion about, they would talk about free speech, and they would talk about like how you can't say what you want to say and these things. And now these same people, their government person is so insecure about people talking shit about him. I don't know. I don't even dislike Trump that much, to be honest, because I'm so frustrated with the U.S. deep state that I view Trump as a good thing, because American foreign policy wages war on the world. So anything that distracts it from the rest of the world, for me, I think that's good for humanity, because it's focused internally on internal issues. And that means that it can't focus so much on, overthrowing governments in Middle Eastern nations or in Spanish-speaking countries. In general, I've seen enough in my life to completely lose faith in the English-speaking world's ability to do good things in Spanish-speaking countries. We've done so many fucked up things that even when we do something good, it ends up being leveraged to do something fucked up. Like here in Nicaragua, we gave humanitarian aid, got people dependent on it to feed them because there was a problem with poverty in these things, right? And then we leveraged that for political gain, and then we took it away. And then we made the government who we had been providing the assistance to blame, even though the thing we wanted them to do was against their own people's country's interest. And that's what we do. That's how we leverage the supposedly good things that we do. We do good things, and then we threaten to take them away. And historically, once you take them away, the government of that country is never, ever going to trust you again. So that has happened here in Nicaragua over and over and over again in many different situations. And yeah, it just made me completely and utterly lose faith in our ability to do good things. And I now believe that we do so many bad things throughout the world that the best thing we can do is nothing. And to just start leaving people alone, letting countries figure out their issues without acting like we know better than them. Like, we can't even stop kids in our schools from shooting each other with assault rifles. We've normalized school shootings. That's become a part of American culture. There are more people in our country prescribed antidepressants, like things like not Benadryl, sorry, benzos, like anti-anxiety medications. There's more anti-anxiety medications prescribed each month than there are humans in the country. Like, we are a fundamentally mentally unwell culture. And we're going around the world acting like we know better than all these other countries that have been around for hundreds or thousands of years. Huh. Huh. You know, and it's like, and this is why I'm like an abrasive American. Because like, as an American, for me it seems pretty obvious that this is what's going on, right? But it's only obvious to me because I got to travel a bunch growing up. Because my parents taught for these international schools. So I was gifted by being able to go, you know, that's why we lived in Saudi Arabia. We lived in the US. We lived in England. We lived in Lesotho in Africa. So I got to see a whole bunch of different cultures growing up. And that was both a blessing and a curse. Because when you're not deeply entrenched in the culture in the same way as other people, you see things differently, and that can be really problematic. And I know it's popular in the English-speaking world to act like we aren't warmongers and that we care about diversity and like rights for people and women. Oh, we love talking about women and how free they are and how women should be free to do whatever they want. Oh, we love talking about this. We are a culture of war and lies. We lie to our people about history. We join world wars. We produce world wars. Note that the world wars weren't like Africa fighting against Europeans or like Asians fighting against the English-speaking world or something. The world wars, like, for the most part, were a European thing. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I know the Pacific Theater existed, but we would be amiss to say that blood and violence and killing people and stealing is not part of our culture. In the English-speaking world in particular, like, we are literal raiders. We took most of the world as our own and populated and subjugated it. And now English is very common. But, like, it's common because of blood, death, and murder. And, like, this is why I get frustrated with people. Because I think it's important to be kind and good to people, but also to not be an abject, stupid idiot. And, like, no offense to people, but they can be so idiotic with the ideals about, like the fact that we think we can go to some developing country and tell them what they need to do to improve. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? We haven't fixed shit. We sent someone to the moon before we figured out our mental health crisis. We've made our mental health crisis worse. Like, we wage wars, we produce businesses that produce situations that harm us and kill us. We no longer use medicine to prevent sickness, but we produce medicines that keep people sick because it's more profitable. So more medicine, more money goes into medicine that is intended to keep people medicated than curing diseases. We have produced an absolute mess. And we go around acting like we're all free. Like, who believes this nonsense? I just don't. I don't get how people can believe it. And, like, I guess that's kind of what growing up is, right? That's why when we're younger, we're considered more naive children. Because we believe all this stuff. And then we grow up, and then we, so to speak, lose our innocence, right? That's how it's framed, at least. I don't know if I buy it, though, to be honest, because I feel like I'm able to really have a lot of joy and experience a lot of innocence, despite the things that I know and have seen about the world. I don't think that knowing these things ruins your innocence. In fact, I think it's the opposite. Your innocence is ruined by being lied to about all this stuff so constantly. It makes us have good reason to lose faith in the world around us. I'd rather be upfront, you know? And like that's something to consider. Like, what happens to the US if we don't have war? I mean, I hate war. I hate what's happening in Gaza in particular. I hate how we talk about terrorists as if we don't produce them. As if we didn't kill their fathers in front of them. As if we didn't slaughter their families, you know? It's absurd. But at the same time, you know, it's what happens. So, for me, like, when you get exposed to these different things around the world, you see like, oh, hey, we actually are, I'm not going to say we're evil, but like we're heavily involved in a lot of the problems that we complain about. And basically, nobody should listen to us. Like, from a foreign country's perspective, the English-speaking world is one of betrayal, one of lies, one of stealing. Like, you know, I mean, the nerve. We like expected people to be happy or sad that the queen died in countries where we literally like raped, murdered, and pillaged and stole their most valuable treasures. And like we expected them to be respectful when she died. Like, come on. It's just like, what is wrong with us? Like, and that's why my only conclusion is that we're fundamentally mentally unhealthy. Like, because it's the only thing that explains the behavior to me. Does that make sense? But anyway, I've babbled enough, and now there's hens running around the house. I gotta take the hens in and deal with that. But for now, that's it. I started a little bit later today. Apology. We're actually gonna try a new internet option pretty soon. So supposedly I'll be able to get a reliable 15 megabit fiber connection. I know that doesn't sound like much, but the internet here, when it starts crashing, and now it's 6, so it starts getting like problematic. It goes down to being able to handle like a 1 megabit connection, and that's it. So also I understand today I didn't talk too much about Valheim. I got into the discussion though. Anyway, if you want to play on Path of Magic, it is a public free-to-play EWP server. So anybody who wants to try Valheim out, but maybe wants to try a more challenging version of Valheim that is kind of more like Dark Souls, but has a lot of other mechanical changes. So we spend a lot of time figuring out like where there's too much of one item and figuring out how it can be somewhere else or be more useful, or you can sell it. So like this whole base, for example, is purchased and acquired from doing dungeons and various things, and then using the resources from those dungeons to get coins and building materials to build all of this stuff. And that's how I had those coins to purchase the stone earlier. And that's the basic gameplay loop on PoM. You find a spot you want to make a base, travel down the path, and you get like a safe place in, and then you kind of build and do other stuff. But there's all sorts of other ways to play as well. People can explore, they can do different things. Alright, the hens are calling me. If you want to support me, you can get your own dedicated Valheim server using Zap hosting. I've got a lot of tutorials about how to set up your own server and manage it and do these custom scripts, even make quests and all sorts of different things that you can do. So you can check that out. Alternatively, I have a Patreon if you want to support me on there. It's a good thing to do if you've like been playing on the server and you really enjoy it. Just something to consider. Absolutely not necessary. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in the next